What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the Hangout spot where you already know. It's Real Talk Sports Talk, live from my man cave. It's your boy Johnny. And let's talk some football as I'm about to go around the league and highlight some top performances and key takeaways for Week 14 in NFL, starting with last Thursday night's game where the Patriots actually made me look like a smart man. I picked them to beat the Steelers, and they went into Pittsburgh and won the game 21-18. And I know I got a lot of crap from my Jet fan buddies that were asking me, why did you pick the Patriots to win? And honestly, it's quite simple. Two reasons, actually. Number one, honestly, I didn't think that a Bill Belichick coach team would lose the rest of their games. I know he wouldn't allow them to purposely tank so that they could get that top spot. And realistically, this was a good game. This was a good matchup for them, especially with Mitch Trubisky, going in as the quarterback instead of Kenny Pickett. And then two, most importantly, is I didn't want them to get the top pick. Why would I want them to get the top pick as a quarterback? So they can draft Caleb Williams and make our lives miserable for the next 15 years? Nah, man, I'm good. I've seen that movie with Tom Brady, and I've had enough of it. Don't need to see that movie anymore. The more wins, the merrier. The higher the draft pick, the better, because you got to think they're going to be in the market for a quarterback to draft a quarterback. Mac Jones hasn't been good. Bailey Zappi was actually really good this game. I mean, he had 240 yards, 3 touchdowns, but I don't know if they consider him the future. I hope they do. Because honestly, as a Jet fan, I want the Patriots to be miserable for the next 30 years at the quarterback position, the same way we've been miserable for the last 25, 30 years as well. So the more wins, the better. If you're a Jet fan, who cares? Let them win 5-6 games and get a 10th, 11th pick. Hopefully all those other quarterbacks will be gone before they pick. So that's why I was rooting for them. I don't know if I'm going to pick them next week against the Chiefs at home, because the Chiefs are going to be chomping at the bit to get back on the winning track, and we'll talk about them in a little bit. But if you're the Steelers, if you're a Steeler fan, you're a little concerned right now. I mean, you better hope Kenny Pickett comes back soon from that sprained ankle, because Mitch Trubisky just isn't good. And in this league, you got to score points. Trust me, I know that. You guys have a legit defense that will keep you in games. But if you're depending on your defense to win you games, again, they may win a game or two, but that type of recipe for success is not sustainable. I've seen it as a Jet fan. You're going to have to score points. And although you weren't lighting up the scoreboard when Kenny was in there, you were scoring enough, 16, 17, 18 points, which was allowing you guys to win games. So you better hope he comes back soon. You really do, because at 7-6, you're barely holding on to a playoff spot. There's 4 other teams that are in the mix with the same record that are on the outside looking in. We'll get into those 4 teams a little bit later on. But what about yesterday's Monday night games? I mean, 2 Monday night games. Rarely do we get that. And, we got 2 good games, 2 really good games, 2 surprising games for me, because the Giants actually beat the Packers 24-22. And I was shocked about that, because I picked the Packers since they were the hot team coming in. But you got to give Brian Daboll a lot of credit. I mean, what he's done with Tommy DeVito the last few weeks has been, it's been phenomenal. It really has. And I'm not really surprised, because, Josh Allen had his best years, when Brian Daboll was a coordinator. So, that he knows how to coach up the quarterbacks. I mean, it wasn't that long ago. It really wasn't that long ago that DeVito came into the game against the Jets, and he wasn't even allowed to throw a pass. Now look at it. I mean, he only misfired on 4 passes yesterday, 17 of 21. Didn't light up the scoreboard. With passing yards, he only had 158, but he had a touchdown pass. He didn't throw any interceptions. And the most impressive part about DeVito is he's not afraid to use his legs to pick up yardage. I mean, 10 rushes for 71 yards. And that's what you want a young quarterback to do. When the pocket collapses, you don't want them to panic. You want them to step up. You want them to take what the defense gives them. Pick up those first downs. Keep the chains moving. And it also, it'll also keep the offense respectable, right? The defense will have to respect the quarterback's running ability. So you want to be able to do that. And that's what he's doing. He's not making mistakes. He's not turning the ball over. 8 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. I mean, you got to give him credit. I mean, I thought that they were going to go back to Tyrod Taylor when he came back healthy, but I mean, this might be the right move. Let this kid, operate the rest of the season, and let's see what you got. He plays with a lot of confidence, so you got to give the Giants credit. I thought they were dead in the water. I really did. After the Jet game, I didn't think they would win another game. I thought they'd be in contention, for one of the top 3 seeds and possibly look at taking a quarterback to move on from Daniel Jones. But right now at 5-8, they are very well in the playoff hunt. in the NFC. So, kudos to Dable, for keeping this team spirit alive. And Wink Martindale continues to do really good things with this defense. So, if they can keep games close, they'll have a chance to win a few more games down the road. And it's crazy that I'm saying that because I hate the Giants. I have a lot of Giant fan friends for years that just troll me. But at the end of the day, you got to give credit where credit is due. I mean, this is what we do here. We keep it real. So, much props to the Giants. I mean, like I said, DeVito is, he's playing well, especially, 3 or 4 games in to his rookie season. And then you had the Dolphins game, which also shocked the hell out of me because I thought the Dolphins were going to blow the Titans right out of the water because that's what they do. They beat up on bad teams. At home, Titans coming in, hadn't won a road game. And then they come in and they beat the Dolphins by a point, 28-27. They overcome 3 turnovers, especially 2 brutal ones late in the fourth quarter. Man, you got to give them credit. I mean, Will Levis, he plays with a lot of passion, a lot of intensity. He had 327 yards and a touchdown. Looks like he may be getting a little bit better. But the recipe for success is Derrick Henry. He ran in for the game winner with about a minute and 50 left in the game. And then, of course, feed DeAndre Hopkins, man. 124 yards receiving, a touchdown. That's what you want to do. You want to rely on your playmakers when you're a rookie quarterback. The Dolphins actually did have a chance, to possibly get into field goal range and win the game with a minute 45 and no timeouts. But kudos to the Titans defense. They held them down. They shut them down. And right now, the Dolphins' offensive line, they're banged up. They don't look good at all. Tyreek Hill looks like he's been in a boxing match. It looks like he's in the 11th round of a tough boxing match. He continues to go out there and play, but, he had some ankle injuries in this game, so he was in and out. When he was in there, he looked like he wasn't skipping a beat. But you gotta think that sooner or later, man, maybe one of these injuries are going to catch up with him. I don't know. Hopefully against the Jets, he's not out there for a long period of time because he can create havoc regardless of where they line him up. But at the end of the day, like I said, I mean, the Dolphins, as much as they can score, on offense, they're going to have to prove that they can beat some winning teams. They're not playing one this week. They're actually playing against the Jets. But let me tell you something. My Jets are coming off a win. That's right. My Jets are coming off a win. I was just happy on Sunday that I can do a positive post-game recap video because I haven't done that in probably about 6 or 8 weeks. I don't even remember the last time I was able to do that, but I was able to do that because the Jets go in and they beat the Texans 30-6, convincingly fashion. Bad conditions. It was rainy. It was wet. C.J. Stroud by far had his worst game, his toughest game as a pro. He was going into the game averaging close to 300 yards passing a game. The Jets held him to 91 yards passing. 43.5% completion percentage. They gave him fits. He didn't throw a pick, but he should have thrown 2. C.J. Mosley dropped 1. Michael Carter dropped 1. So they made his life miserable. In fact, they even knocked him out late in the game with a concussion. You hope that he's okay. But the story of the game was Zach Wilson, man. You got to give credit where credit is due. Zach effing Wilson, the same kid who was benched for 2 games, the same kid who was involved in all these reports saying that he was reluctant to play, didn't want to come in and take the ball. They denied the rumors. He took the ball, and he went out there, and he balled out. You got to give him credit. He's been taking a lot of bullets for the past 2.5 years. And this week was just different. It was. And you got to wonder, I mean, what was it? I mean, yeah, the play calling was better, but he was just playing with a lot more confidence. And he had said during the week before the game that he was going to play, he was going to have fun. He looked like he was having fun out there. What was it? Was it the weight of his work? The weight of the world was off his shoulders? Kind of figured that there was no pressure. There was a report that DJ Reed said that before the game during the week, Zach told him he's just going to go out there and play for the team because he's got nothing to lose. Well, if that's the case, he needs to play like that every week because he was lights out. I mean, he started the game 5 of 5, although they didn't score in the first half. He came out smoking. They scored 30 points in the second half. This is a team that hadn't scored a touchdown in God knows how long. 27 of 36, 75% completion percentage, 301, 2 touchdowns. And he really made some really great throws in this game. I give him a lot of credit. I really do, like I said. And, the play calling was better. Hackett mixed it up. He was a little bit more creative. Got some wide receiver runs. We got Gibson involved in the game. He had a touchdown. There was a Randall Cobb sighting. He caught a touchdown. They got the ball to Brees in space. In the passing game, he was involved. 8 catches, 80-something yards, a touchdown. They got the ball to Garrett Wilson. 9 catches, 100 yards receiving. I mean, that's the recipe for success. I've been saying it for weeks. You got to wonder, where the hell has this been? Where has it been? Where could the Jets be right now if they had gotten this type of quarterback play calling with this defense? Where would they be? It's crazy to think that. So now this week they got Miami. It's got, obviously they're traveling to Miami. It's not going to be an easy game. Miami just beat the crap out of us on Black Friday. But the good news is we've seen them a few weeks ago. They're banged up on the line. Our defensive line can wreak havoc, even if your line is healthy. So let's see. Let's see what happens. I mean, hopefully you're hoping for more of the same in Zach. If we can win this game, get to 6-8, who knows what can happen the rest of the way. I know technically we're not mathematically eliminated. I don't think we're making the playoffs. I don't think there's a realistic shot. We'd have to win out the rest of the way. We'd have to have a lot of other teams lose. That's hard that's going to be ultimately hard for for us to be able to get that type of luck. And I don't even know if 9 wins gets you in, but hey, at the end of the game, man, you just got to play to win, win your games and let the chips fall where they may. And at the very least, go into the offseason, with some positive momentum. That's what I want. I'm not one of those fans that want the teams to lose out for a higher draft pick. I want them to win games, finish on a positive note, go into the offseason with some momentum, see if we could run it next year with a healthy team, some reinforcements, and of course Aaron Rodgers, which takes us to our Sunday night game, which I thought was going to be a good game between the Cowboys and Eagles, and ended up being a laugher, mainly because the Cowboy offense is legit, and I don't know what the hell is going on with the Eagles. I really don't. They've lost 2 in a row. They've gotten blown out 2 games in a row. But realistically, coming into last week's game against the Niners and this game, they have not looked like the same team that went to the Super Bowl last week. And as an Eagle fan, you're hoping. You're like, when is the last year Eagle team going to show up? Jalen Hurts hasn't been good. He's been inconsistent. He had 197 yards passing, no TDs. They were very undisciplined. They had 10 penalties. Didn't help them any. I don't know. I don't know what to make of the Eagles, to be honest with you. I mean, they do have a winnable game next week against the Seahawks, but they're going to have to right the ship, and they got 4 more games to do it. Because once the playoff starts, they're going to have to look like the Eagle team of last week if they want to, make a run at potentially making it to the Super Bowl again. Right now, I don't like their chances. I really don't like the way they look at all. And then the Cowboys, you got to give them credit. They're the best offense right now in football by far. I mean, they're averaging close to 34 points a game, mainly because Dak Prescott has been playing like an MVP. Another 2-touchdown game, 270 yards passing. CeeDee Lamb, another touchdown. I mean, the biggest question, and I got a lot of Dallas Cowboy fan friends, they're going to say the same thing. Can this Dak Prescott that we see in the regular season, is it going to be the same quarterback we see in the playoffs? Or is he going to choke like he has in the past? I don't know. I can't answer that question, but I'll tell you one thing. With the way he's playing right now at an MVP level, you got to like your chances if you're a Cowboy fan. Coupled with that defense, I mean, right now, you got to think, the Cowboys are a threat. The Cowboys are a threat. Next week they play the Bills. That'll be another good game, which pushes into this Bills game. Bills and Chiefs. Another good game, 4 o'clock game. And it was. The Bills pulled it off 20-17, but the story of the game was the penalty call. The offsides penalty call that was called on Kadarius Toney late in the fourth quarter on a play where Patrick Mahomes hits Travis Kelce over the middle. He catches the ball, laterals over to Toney, who was wide open on the left side of the field. He runs in for an easy touchdown that would have given the Chiefs the lead and probably the victory. Instead, that play was called back because of an offsides penalty on Toney, who had his toe or part of his toe on the line of scrimmage. So they ended up losing the game because of that. And after the game, Patrick Mahomes went absolutely berserk. If you ask me, he embarrassed himself. He looked pathetic. And I like Patrick Mahomes. I'm a big Mahomes fan. I love watching him play. But man, he looked like a baby, like a crybaby. Andy Reid, he was complaining about the call as well. And the crazy part about it is, if you're going to complain about a call, at least let it be questionable. This was obvious. His foot was clearly on the line. So the referees actually got it right. And you're complaining because supposedly they shouldn't call that play or call that, especially after the play that you hit for a big play? Doesn't work that way, buddy. I don't see you crying when all the calls that are called against other team go for you guys. Because trust me when I tell you, the Chiefs are the beneficiary of the most calls in the NFL by far. In fact, they won a Super Bowl on a questionable call against the Eagles. So let's stop the nonsense. I mean, the Jet game. Look at those questionable calls against the Jets. I don't see you complaining about that. Jets could have won that game easily. So Mahomes, stop the complaining. You're better than that. You're a two-time champion, multiple year MVP. Stop crying like a baby. It's crazy. If you want to cry about anything, why don't you cry about the 33 drop passes that your crappy wide receiver core have dropped this year, including Kadarius Toney. Not only did he cost you the game, be mad at him for standing on the line. It's not the referee's job to tell a player to get back behind the line of scrimmage. I know they've done it in the past, but truth is, there was a letter that got sent out to all the teams that said they were going to start calling this, and they have. Even though they called it twice last year, maybe 2 or 3 times a year prior. They've called it 11 times. So they're calling it. It's not their job. It's your job to make sure that your team is lined up appropriately behind the line of scrimmage. Weak. Very weak. Niners, they continue to roll. Just a few weeks ago, they blow the Seahawks out of the water on Thanksgiving. They beat them again, 28-16. The Niners right now, they're the most complete team in the NFL. In my opinion, they're the best team in the NFL. Right now, they're proving to be a juggernaut on offense, mainly because Brock Purdy is playing like an elite quarterback. 368 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a beauty of a throw to Kittle over the middle to burn Jamal Adams. I just loved it, especially since it was against Jamal Adams. Christian McCaffrey, 145 yards on the ground. Deebo Samuel, 7 catches, 149, a touchdown. Ayuk, another 126 yards receiving. This team has weapons. And if you give Brock Purdy time, he'll make the right decisions. He's very accurate with the football. You combine that with a defense that is one of the best in the league. Their front four is top 2 or top 3. I consider their front four just the Jets and the Niners, in my opinion, have the best front four in football. Chase Young, Nick Bosa, Fred Warner in the middle. Their secondary will take the football away from you. This is a complete team. They're dangerous. They're scary. I don't know. I don't see anybody that's going to be that can beat them. But again, a lot of things can change. You know, we still got 4 weeks left in the season. We don't know how this thing plays out. It's usually the team that gets hot at the right time is the team that could potentially knock off a team like this and make it to the Super Bowl. So we'll see what happens. But right now, if the season ended, I don't see anybody that can beat the Niners. 5 in a row. Next week, they got the Cards, 3-10. So you got to think there's a good shot that they're going to win 6 in a row. I think the biggest question about that game is how much the spread is going to be, and if they're going to be able to beat the spread. Because I definitely think that it's going to be at least 2 touchdowns against the Cards. Bucks beat the Falcons, 29-25 in a game for first place. The Falcons came in at 6-6, leading the NFC South. Bucks win. They're now at 6-7. The loss takes the Falcons to 6-7. The Saints actually won. So now they are 6-7. So there's a 3-way tie for first place in the NFC South, and neither team has a winning record. Isn't that something? This team, any of these teams could probably win the division by winning 8 games and not having a winning record. It's crazy. It really is. But that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. If I had to make a prediction, I'd say it's either between the Buccaneers and the Falcons. I mean, because the Saints are just super inconsistent, although they do have weapons and they have Derek Carr. Bengals, another win, another good Jake Browning performance. They win 34-13. They stopped the Minshew train. Kudos to what Zach Taylor is doing with Jake Browning. 275 yards, 2 touchdowns. Play confident, competent football. Run the ball. Give the ball to your playmakers. And now they're 7-6. Back in the playoff hunt. I thought they were dead in the waters once Joe Burrow went down. Again, kudos to Zach Taylor. Joe Flacco. This guy was sitting on his sofa just 3-4 weeks ago. 2 touchdowns last week in a loss where he looked pretty good. This week, he looked even better. 311 touchdowns, 311 yards, 3 touchdowns. Browns win 31-27. They move to 8-5. If they can keep him upright and he continues to deliver the football like this, he's going to make the right decisions. Who knows where the Browns could go with this defense? they're looking pretty good. I got to give them credit. But let's see. Again, we are talking about Flacco. He's got to have some time in the pocket because he can't move in the pocket. Trust me, I know. I've seen that firsthand with the Jets last year. Ravens, Rams. That was a thriller. The Ravens end up winning in overtime because of a 76-yard punt return for a touchdown by Tylan Wallace. But the story here is the quarterbacks, man. They went at it. Lamar Jackson and Matthew Stafford they went at it. Head-to-head battle here. 316 yards and 3 touchdowns for Lamar. 70 yards on the ground. He's playing like the MVP Lamar of years ago. Stafford, 294 yards, 3 touchdowns. They had come in very, very hot. So they're scoring points. But it's a tall task. I knew, going into Baltimore, they were on a bye week. I thought that was going to be a tough game. Kudos to the Rams. I mean, again, for taking them into overtime. This game was close throughout the way. But right now, the Ravens look like the most complete team in the AFC, which brings us to our playoff picture right now. In the AFC, the top 4 teams, the division winners, are the Ravens with the top spot at 10-3. Then you have Miami at 9-4, Kansas City at 8-5, and Jacksonville at 8-5. Those are your 4 division leaders right now. And then the wild card teams, you have the Browns at 8-5, the Pittsburgh Steelers at 7-6, and you got the Colts barely holding on to that 7 seed at 7-6. But the key here are the other teams that are trailing or on the outside looking in. You got the Texans, Broncos, Bengals, and Bills. They're all at 7-6. So this is going to be a dogfight for those last 3 wild card spots. It's going to be very, very interesting to see how that plays out. And the Jaguars, even though they lost, I thought Trevor Lawrence would be gone for a few weeks with that high ankle sprain. I had no idea he was going to play. He actually taped it up and played. He threw for 3 touchdowns, but he also threw 3 interceptions. You got to hope he's healthy, the rest of the way. But either way, he's willing himself to play. So the Jaguars will be interesting too, because if they lose a couple games, the Browns could potentially, or somebody could potentially, take over that division lead. So it's going to be interesting to see how the AFC plays out. Same thing with the NFC. I mean, the top 4 seeds, the division leaders right now, the Niners are 10-3. Dallas took over that top spot in the NFC with their win over Philly. They're now 10-3. Even though the Lions lost to the Bears, they're at 9-4. And then you got Tampa Bay at 6-7. And then you got Philly. They're the top wild card team at 10-3. Let's see if they can get it right. Vikings at 7-6. They beat the Raiders this week 3-0. And then you got the Packers who lost to the Giants, but they're still holding on to that 7th spot by a thread. They're at 6-7. But just like the AFC, you got 4 teams at 6-7. You got the Seahawks, Falcons, Saints, and Rams. They're all right there ready to pounce on any one of those 3 wild card spots. December's going to be interesting. It really is. I love this time of the season because this is where things really start to shape out. What you see today in the beginning of December may not be the same thing you see at the end of December going into the postseason. I mean, again, it's all about the team that gets hot, right? Right now, the Niners are looking unstoppable. The Cowboys are looking unstoppable. The Ravens, are looking unstoppable. Who knows what happens in the next few weeks? I mean, injuries can always play a part in it. Inconsistent play. Another team just gets healthier and it gets better. So you never know how it's going to play out. But this is what I love about December, because everybody who's in the hunt are playing meaningful games, and the games just get so much more better when there are playoff positioning at stake. So this is a great time to be a football fan. And that is my recap for this week. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. So, feel free to drop a line. And if you're new to watching my videos, please subscribe and hit that notification bar so that you are alerted anytime I drop a new video. I'm dropping new content all the time, so make sure you tune in. And for those that tuned in today, I appreciate that. Thank you for watching. As always, I appreciate your support. This is your boy Johnny signing out from the Hangout spot, and I will talk to everybody soon.